Hello everybody, my name is Kanoi Mainika and welcome back to the unboxing, where today we are going to take a look at a figure that I think for many has been long awaited, a character who has been long awaited in this specific form. One of the main goals I think for a lot of people, including myself, when collecting the S.H.Figuarts One Piece line is to get a full collection of every single Straw Hat. And they've been annoyingly slow about it. A lot of the S.H.Figuarts One Piece line has been focused on side characters, basically since the beginning, just picking out little side characters from individual arcs that they think they can only do at that moment, but not so with today's release, because today we are finally taking a look at the fourth member to join the crew within the series. That's right, today's unboxing is focusing on the S.H.Figuarts One Piece Romance Dawn Usopp. The captain of the crew, totally. The great Captain Usopp is right here, and I couldn't be more excited because it's another Straw Hat. Yippee! This specifically goes with your Romance Dawn Straw Hats, which have been the main ones that have been up on release for the past couple years. They're the better ones, figure-wise, to be fair. But yeah, I'm really excited to help to work on rounding out this crew. And to do so, let's start by looking at the box. As you can tell, it's fairly in line with basically every other S.H.Figuarts One Piece figure that you have seen. However, he has a swanky little bit of yellow as his secondary color, which is nice and appreciated. It helps him to stand out from the other members. He has a yellow background. This bit of yellow covers up this specific promotional image where he's doing a cool action pose, and he has his standard promotional image with his arms crossed, which is cool that he can do that just out of the box. I appreciate that. One piece in this corner, you've got your window, which allows you to see Usopp and a lot of accessories. His name is printed on the plastic, Usopp Romance Dawn, and is also printed here, S.H.Figuarts Usopp Romance Dawn. All the usual logos. Bandai Tamashii Nations Toei. It's got a mappy background. You know what you're looking at if you've seen this line. At the top, as per usual, is the Straw Hat cutout with the S.H.Figuarts quote. It allows you to look at the top of the figure, as well as more of that map printing. The bottom is just a simple yellow bar with the figure's name, Usopp Romance Dawn, as well as an image of Usopp. On this side, you get a bunch of his facial expressions, so a sort of yelling, attacking face, a serious face, a happy, cheering face, as well as the ah face with the sharp teeth, and then the Luffy face that comes in the set, this big-mouthed cheering face. On this side, you get a little bit more window. S.H.Figuarts Usopp Romance Dawn, and then Usopp down here doing his slingshot attack with a Doom behind him, and One Piece right there. You will note that this is the import release, so it's got one of these import stickers over the usual legalese. S.H.Figuarts Simple Style and Heroic Action. As per usual, this is for ages 15 and up, so if you're a child, get the fuck out of this video. This is not for you. Usopp Romance Dawn, right there. There he is using his slingshot. There he is using his hammer. There he is using his rubber band. Here he is with the loadout of all of his accessories. Here he is with all of his faces. And then we have him doing that cross-armed pose from the front. However, that's the box. We can't just look at a box, though, because we gotta get it unboxed. Yeah. So let's do it. Slice, there we go, and then we open it up from this side. Instructions are in the panel, so keep that in mind. And then we just slide it out so that you can get a good look at everything that comes in the set. So plastic case, plastic covering, and it all looks good. So let's take a look at all that, because he is fairly loaded for his price point. He's only like $70, $75 imported, which is, or domestic shippers, whatever, which is pretty impressive in comparison to others. So first off, let's take a look at these hands. Here we have him with this sort of thumbs up pose, a fairly simple hand. This is, I imagine, for the rubber band. You get two of them, one for each side. They look good, and they just work as thumbs up, but they are also mainly for that attack, and they look nice. Fairly bony, and they have a decent skin tone, though we'll talk about it. He also has a pair of, these are seemingly gripping hands. Let me get them out. Yes, here he has a pair of gripping hands. As you can tell, there's a little hole in there that you will just slide his slingshot into. But otherwise, and obviously you have a little bit of bar connection there, but otherwise they look fairly decent. You can see fingernails. There might be a little bit of scuffage on mine, but that's okay. And, just normal S.H.Figuarts hands. Nothing super impressive about them so far, though. We have these sort of beckoning / gripped hands, which are in a fairly nice pose. It's a fairly expressive pose, and I think it's good to have. And they can just work as relaxed hands, or they can do something a little bit more expressive. They look nice. Again, same level of details before. Then you have flat out open hands, which are good for running, which are good for chopping. I mean, Usopp's mainly going to be running with them. Here they are front and back. Geez, white balance I'm bad at, I apologize. Yes, they're kind of brightening it up, but yeah, you can see. I like the palm detail on the inside of it. It looks very good. Next up, we have another set of hands, but they are not paired. First off, we have this thumb hand, which I think is for one of his specific weapons. Probably for the rubber band, actually. Let me check. Yeah, this is specifically for the rubber band and for the slingshot, seemingly, which makes the two thumbs up seem a little weird, but you can see it's in an interesting pose. You're not really going to get much use of it outside of the slingshot, but it does look nice nonetheless, so if you find a pose that'll work for this, go ahead, but otherwise it's about the same standard of posability or sculpting as we've seen before. And we also have a singular, broad open hand for him to do cool poses with. I wish we had a pair of these, but it works singularly. Fingernail detailing, same level of detailing as before, but it's in a very expressive pose. I like it. We'll take a look at the Luffy face because it's the closest. Here he is. Big open mouth, very fun, very expressive. This is a very unique face and has a lot of value. I imagine you'll probably have a Luffy if you have an Usopp, but yeah, this is for any Luffy it'll work for. It's mainly meant for Romance Dawn. The tongue has a little bit of paint sloppage, but it fits in fine. But otherwise, it's very well painted. It's very big and expressive, and while it doesn't look perfect from every angle, it works. And it's very goofy and fun and fits the One Piece world. Next up, those Usopps, he has his big cheeky grin on the front, but to pair with that Luffy face, he also comes with this big open happy face. Not as big open as Luffy's, clearly. It works since he doesn't have rubber powers. Again, the mouth is very well painted. His eyes are good, and also, he has his nose. Be careful with this. It seems like it's a thin part that I might worry about breaking, so be careful with your Usopps, make sure they don't fall. But yeah, very good expressive face. A little bit limited in its use, I imagine, but it should work. Next up is a very Usopp-y face. His eyes bulging out of his head with the teeth sharp. This works really well from certain angles, a little bit less from others. Like, that's a little weird. But like, yeah, you can see it really does give off a strong effect, and it's very well sculpted for what it's intending to do. Obviously, the big nose is there, the big teeth, the tongue's sculpted to poke out. It's just very strong, and I really like that. The One Piece line has been very effective in getting those cool sculpted heads. Next up are a pair of action faces. So he has this one, big and shouting out some sort of attack, and it works well again. Again, the mouth is very well painted. This gives us a stronger look at the eyes, the way that they're usually going to be printed, and they look good too. They fit Usopp's look in general, and I think they're about right. And then finally, this one's kind of looking off to the side, which may perturb some people, but it's got a very expressive face again. I think it works very well. Next up, though, are his, like, I guess to kind of pair with that, we have two sets of goggles. First off is one that seemingly goes around his face. They're made out of clear plastic, and they have some very nice painting. Not a lot of paint slop to be seen on them, and they work very well. There is simple Romance Dawn Syrup Village era goggles before he gets to Logtown, but they do look nice, and they'll work if you need Usopp to have goggles. And alternatively, you also have the ones that go over his head, which would probably I've been putting them in action poses. I think I'll probably use the normal goggles. So yeah, these ones go around his head and are obviously full. These ones aren't done in clear plastic. They're just done in brown, but it works fine. They have some nice ribbing around, and the brown, being as glossy as it is in the front, does distract from it not being clear. And finally, for being on Usopp, is his bag. It's nice and yellow. It has this nice gold clasp. I like the way that the cloth texture is done on it. There's a little bit of, again, paint slop, but I imagine, there we go. The little silver clasps on the band also look nice, though the band I imagine could look a little better. It's okay. Next up, we're onto the accessories, which are kind of layered on top of each other because he is using up a lot of stuff. First off is his hammer. Obviously it's like a fake hammer, but it looks fairly nice. There's a fucking nub right there, which is unfortunate, and a seam line going all the way around it. But I mean, if the seam line fits fine, because it does look like a fairly decent, simple hammer. The metallic tip and the brown stick, whatever. It works well. It looks like it should work well, at least. And he can mallet people on the head, or whatever. Next up is Usopp's iconic weapon. Of course, it's his slingshot. It's a little bit annoying because you kind of have to use it in motion, but at least the ball is sculpted and painted in there, so you don't have to put it in yourself. As you can see, it's in action already, and It has a hinge here so that you can pose it however you want. The green I really like on the slingshot itself. It's got a little bit of paint slop seemingly, but I'll live. And I think I've seen other people take the sling out so that it can be more in a neutral pose, but yeah, it's not really gonna be in a neutral pose. The white is also painted fairly nicely, all things considered, here at the banding. And it just looks nice. It looks a lot like its manga and anime counterpart, and it just works well. Finally though, of course, is the rubber band of doom. I always forget its name, I apologize. But yes, it's just a simple brown piece of plastic, shaped like a rubber band, but it does look good. It looks right. It looks good. There's a nub mark, unfortunately, on it, but otherwise, yeah, rubber band. It's nice to have, and I imagine it could have easily been cut if someone was being a little bit more careless on the design team, but they were not, so it's good. With accessories out of the way, now it is time to look at the figure itself. So why don't we? A little bit of clear plastic around his legs, and otherwise, he just comes out. He doesn't really have any plastic around himself, so you just take him out, you plug, and you play. So here is Usopp, all out of the box and ready to go. And as you can see, he does look fairly nice. He's got fairly thin, scrawny proportions, as you would expect from Usopp as a character. He has his sort of workman's overalls, which look good. He has his little band on the arm. Something I'll note immediately is that it's weird because Usopp's skin tone has fluctuated in the manga and anime. Obviously, initially it was a lot darker, and honestly that felt a little bit better, but then he's slowly lightened over the years, and this is very much leaning in the lighter sort of area. A lot of the Romance Dawn era figures have been leaning a little bit more modern in terms of aesthetic decisions. Like, obviously it's the Romance Dawn designs, but they take whatever modern design conventions they can. You can see that with Chopper, you can see that with Ace, Chopper and Ace especially you can see, because their designs feel completely different, because they are leaning far more into their modern aesthetics. And while this isn't as modern of an Usopp, he's obviously thin and scrawny, the skin tone is very much something that I feel like could be a point of contention. I'm not too annoyed about it, especially since the live action one is also coming out, and that might be a little bit more to your tastes. If that's something that you aren't super fond of, then it's completely understandable. His skin tone is different from a lot of the other characters, though. It is a little darker than, like, say, Nami or Sanji or Zoro. Sorry, brain blast while I was having a serious conversation. But yeah, let's take a deeper look at him, though, so that we can get a closer look at the overall figure. Starting off with the head, it does look pretty good. This smirking expression does feel nice for a sort of playing up like one of his lies, overconfident Captain Usopp, and it works well. The bandana is also really well painted. The lines are very clean on it. I don't see any slop on them at all, and it's very impressive to do that. I really appreciate that. And the hair also does look nice. There maybe could have been some shading, but the general fuzz of it does look nice, and it does have some decent nooks and crannies, which does help to give it some natural shading. So it does look nice, but obviously the main focus is the face, and it looks very good. Onto the torso. Obviously it's a fairly simple upper body that leans into the jacket, or not the overalls, which are in that nice brown. It's a very nice brown, though, and I really like the clasps, which are also painted very cleanly, and the subtle sculpting of the overalls themselves. You probably could have shaded them a little bit to really emphasize these details, but I don't mind too much. The lack of shading helps it feel a little more cartoony, in my opinion. The arms are very simple, though they are different on each side. Fairly thin, not super muscly. Like, you can see some muscles, but overall they are very thin, and you have some fists at the end. This one's very simple. This one has a little bit more going on because it has the very nicely painted, like, there's a little bit of paint slop, but overall it's a very nicely painted little armband, which is very appropriate for Usopp. He has a little shifting like little waist piece. It's seemingly a separate part for the sake of simplicity, and this has some nice shading on it, a little bit of like subtle blue in the white, which looks very nice. And this is able to move out of the way so that we can look at his fairly basic pants, though again, these little cuffs are also nicely shaded. And I do like the sculpting on the pants. Maybe some shading could have gone some way, but again, I'm generally fine without shading. I know it's a seeming hot take in the action figure community, but for cartoony characters, I don't need them to have shading that you would put on like a realistic character, because the flatter colors do give them a more cartoony effect, or a more cartoony look. It just makes sense. Obviously, S.H.Figuarts kind of takes it too far, because they'll do their like live action, like Hollywood blockbuster characters without much shading, and that looks uncanny. But it's very much something that's carried over from like the fact that Kamen Riders don't really need a lot of shading because they are in very simple bright colors. He has a little bit of lower leg going into these very simple but very nice boots. The joint is a little obvious, If you look at it, the joint is certainly a bit obvious, a bit round, but I don't mind it too much, because overall it does feel like it fits into the round shaping of the boot. Just keep that in mind. That might be a down point for you sculpting-wise. But yeah, overall, Usopp looks very good. He's a simple figure, but I don't think I was really expecting a lot of hyper-complex sculpting from Romance Dawn era Usopp, or really from any Usopp. So it's not like I feel like they missed out on anything. And obviously, I don't mind the lack of shading, but if that's a point killer for you, especially since this is an inexpensive action figure, then maybe hold off. Anyways, he does look nice, but how does he pose? So let's take a look. So dumbbell joints at the top and bottom of the neck, so he can look up about that far. His hair does get in the way. He can look down very far for some cool poses there. Side to side, not a ton, again, limited by the hair, and he can swivel. Basically enough, but again, the hair is going to be limiting you. Actually, it's a hinge at the top of the neck. I apologize for lying to you. But yeah, it's like a hinge piece at the top of the neck. It's like a sort of like the wrist pieces. So I guess keep that in mind. You might be able to get a little bit more out of that if you try to rotate that properly, but I'm not gonna risk it right now. Shoulders, they have butterfly, yeah, there's a butterfly joint in there, but not like a ton. They're not really gonna be able to get super far out forward. They aren't a pull-out joint, so that's about as far forward as you're gonna get, about as far back as you're gonna get, so not a ton, but yeah, they also have a hinge outward, which goes about 90 degrees, and a full swiveling rotation, which is fairly nice. Bicep swivel, which is nice to see. Double jointed elbow, which goes very far inward. That's beautiful. And then swivel hinge swivel at the wrist, as you might expect from an S.H.Figuarts. So you can get your hand in whatever angled pose you need. Torso, let's take a look. There's a dumbbell joint here, and I think there's a lower dumbbell joint, which is hidden by the sculpting of this, which is very impressive. So this upper joint is able to go back a little bit, forward a good bit, and tilt side to side a lot. Now alongside the lower joint, he's able to tilt back that far, woo, tilt forward, that far, which is very nice, and then tilt side to side even more, and you're getting your swivel from the upper joint. There's no waist swivel, but it is up here at the upper joint. It does, okay, there is swivel down there. I just wasn't grabbing properly. There is swivel down there too, but you can make it more subtle. You might want to swivel at the lower joint more. It might warp this, but it also doesn't break the sculpt as much. As mentioned, this is on a ball joint, though it really only acts as a swivel, which can go all the way around. Your hips are universals, which are able to kick forward about that far, not all the way up, but enough. Back that far, further than I would expect, and outward pretty nicely. That's about what I would want. A thigh swivel, as is seen. A double jointed knee, which doesn't quite go all the way. It's somewhat hindered by the sculpt, but I feel like it might have been able to go a little bit further. And the foot is based around this joint where it's got a swivel, a forward, a backward, and an ankle tilt. Big old toe bend, not a ton of bend in it, but it looks nice. So yeah, Usopp is on the upper end of S.H.Figuarts One Piece figures in terms of articulation, and he's just a fun basic figure. He at least isn't in like that $90 price bracket. I'm pretty sure he retails, like I said, for about $75 in the US, which feels about right, especially since you get a fairly wide range of stuff. They're small accessories, but you get a lot of them. And he poses well, he looks nice. He is in no way like the most hyper impressive figure in the world. I'm not really quite hitting the high highs as some of the previous figures that I've looked at this past year, mainly like the Uraraka. But this is a very strong release. I like it a lot. Probably one of the best of the Straw Hats, if not the best. But yeah, he's good. I would recommend him, especially if you're an Usopp fan or a One Piece fan. He's definitely worth picking up to round out your Straw Hat crew. That's the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video and leave your thoughts in the comments. It's always appreciated. If you want more videos on the channel, go to the channel and check out some of the previous ones we've done. I've looked at every other Romance Dawn Straw Hat figure up to this point, and pretty soon I'm going to be looking at Sanji, so be sure to subscribe so that you know when that comes out. With all that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!